Welcome to Fortifiy. We're glad you found us. Although we can't know your exact experience, feelings, and thoughts, we spend a lot of time with others who have faced some of the same challenges that led you here. If you're anything like them, you've probably worried about what went wrong in the past. I can't believe I'm here. How did I get to this place? I'm not sure anything's going to change. You may also have fears about your future. Maybe I've been doing this too long. Maybe I've blown it. What if I can't beat this thing? And then you have this moment, a new start, a fresh beginning. No matter what happened yesterday, last month, or last year, guess what? Right now, you're doing this program. That says something about you. And if we have anything to say about it, it will also mean something about your future. But for now, let's not fast forward too much into tomorrow. Let's stick with today. And for today, just the fact that you're here, the fact that you're working through this program is worth celebrating a little bit. Think about it. With everything else that you could be doing right now, you chose to take time and check out this program. That's no small thing. In fact, it's a big deal, and we're really glad you're here. We got lots to talk about up ahead, but let's focus on one point for now. No matter how much or how long you've struggled, no matter how desperate or stuck you may feel right now, this is a new day. We're not being cheesy here. It's really true. No other moment that came before is just like this one. You've just done something most people in your situation aren't brave enough to do. You've recognized that there is a problem, and you're doing something about it. Well done, seriously. But you didn't come here just to get a pat on the back or a pep talk. You showed up because your life has been entangled and hijacked by something you can't control very well, or at all. You're here because you're tired of feeling that way and you're ready to do something about it. Do something different, more true to who you really are and what you really want out of life. That's why we're here too, because we also believe you deserve better. And we're going to give absolutely everything we got to help you find that. So let's do this. Wherever you are, no matter where that is, it's the perfect place to begin. While everyone's situation is different, most people facing an addiction like this one have gone back to using over and over, sometimes for many years. After a while, it's normal to start wondering whether this isn't just who you are. The same thoughts come up for most addictions. Maybe I'm just a drunk, or doesn't this drug help me be who I really am? You probably heard similar ideas about porn. Oh yeah, it's just a teenager thing, or all the guys are into that. This is just who I am. So is that true? Some people sure want it to be. They hope it's true and really try to believe it. Well, how about this? What if we just stuck with the facts, with our experience as it actually happens and with the things as they really are? After using porn again one night, a friend of ours told us that he turned off his computer and tried to sleep. Sensing again the numbness and the heaviness that always comes after using, he stopped and sat down on the floor. "This is not who I really am," he cried in the dark. "And this is not the person I want to be. This is not me." It's much easier, of course, to say the opposite, to look around at our life and our media habits and just say, "This is my identity. This is who I am." We're here to tell you something different. We're here to tell you straight up, there is a big difference between who you are and where you are. It's true. You are here. You've been doing this stuff, maybe for a long time. That is where you are. But that doesn't mean that's who you are. In fact, this whole addiction may completely contradict who you really are. Have you ever had a moment like the one we just talked about? A moment when you sensed, even just barely, that you were better than this? That this stuff is not really you? It may even go against who you actually are? If you hadn't had that moment, keep searching. You can. We promise. For those of you who have already felt this, you probably also know how easy it is to fall into another trap. As if facing addiction wasn't hard enough, we often add to the burden by telling ourselves some story about how we're completely broken, stupid, or worthless. Maybe you currently believe something like this. Maybe you even believe that entering this program is a sign that you're a weak person deep down. We disagree big time. Whatever personal worries you may be carrying around, however mixed up you may feel, this is one point we want to make very clear. You are not the primary cause of this addiction. All our obsessing about internal problems misses one pretty big part of the picture. It's called the world, and you are living in it. You're dwelling in a society that aggressively sets people up for the struggle you're facing. And if that's true, then maybe we should stop hammering ourselves so hard for being weak and pathetic. Maybe we should look at actual scientific explanations as to why addiction happens in the first place. To sum it up, no matter how long you have struggled or how stuck you may feel, you are not your addiction. Someone once said, as long as you are breathing, there is more right with you than there is wrong. Are you hearing us? Once again, you are not your addiction. You are much more than that, and that's how we see you. In the end, the purpose of this program isn't to change you into somebody else. Instead, our aim is to help you reclaim and become again who you are and always have been, even if you forgot that for a while. We talked in the last video about who you really are. Now let's talk a bit more about where you are. In an upcoming video, we'll be going through different patterns in the world around us that set people up for addiction. From sleep deficiency to high levels of stress to health and family problems, it's no surprise that many of us end up looking for some way to numb out. What's a bit surprising, though, is how hard it can be to walk away from addictive habits once you've gone there. What is it that draws us back to things like drugs, tobacco, alcohol, or pornography, even when we know they're hurting us? As we just finished saying, it's not because people are stupid or weak. There's an actual scientific explanation as to why addiction happens, and it all starts with the brain. The brain is the powerhouse of the body. It's one of the most important things that makes you who you are. It allows you to choose what you will and won't do, and ultimately shapes who you are as a person. So it's pretty important that we protect it. There are a lot of things that we can do to hurt or damage the brain. You know, we've all probably lost a few brain cells, whether it be from a bad fall, a helmet-to-helmet hit in football, wrecking hard on a mountain bike, or getting a roundhouse kick in the face by Chuck Norris. Ooh. Okay, maybe not that last one. You'd be dead. But we're not here to talk about that kind of harm to the brain. In this program, we're going to explore a different kind of harm to the brain, the kind that comes from the inside, similar to the kind of damage caused by using things like hard drugs. So let's dig in and talk a little bit more about this. Let's start by rewinding back to your earlier life. Think back to the time when you were younger, before you saw any pornography. Did your day feel ruined if you could not use pornography? Did you feel nervous, uncomfortable, or unable to concentrate because you couldn't check out that video? No, of course not. Your life went on perfectly normal as a non-porn viewer. You were able to get on with your life without even giving the slightest thought to porn. But then you tried it. And like first-time smokers or drinkers, the body got a shock. Viewing pornography triggers a release of pleasure chemicals, such as dopamine, into what is called the reward pathway of the brain. The same pathway that fires up when you do something good that makes you happy, like hanging out with friends, eating your favorite meal, or riding a roller coaster. The difference here is that with harmful behaviors, chemicals get released in unnatural ways and at unhealthy levels. At first, your brain wasn't prepared for that chemical hit, so you probably felt sick, excited, or shocked during your first exposure. But over time, as you continued to use, the body got so used to those unhealthy chemical levels that it started to demand more and more of what you had started feeding it. It's like Morgan Spurlock, the guy who ate McDonald's for 30 days in the documentary Super Size Me. At first, he got really sick, but after a while, his body got used to all the grease and fat he was eating, and he began craving and demanding it. If a Big Mac can get demanding, it's not hard to imagine that same pattern with other things, including porn. And that's what happens. Users go from not needing porn to trying it, to wanting it, to eventually needing it. One of the main reasons addiction can be so hard to quit is that life never stops being challenging. Once we're accustomed to coping with a difficult situation by escaping through an addiction, when something negative or uncomfortable arises, such as disappointment, stress, or loneliness, the brain can become trained like a puppy dog to see the drug, alcohol, porn, whatever, as a solution. As you keep going back to any harmful substance again and again, your brain builds up a tolerance and dependency on that overload of chemicals to the point where your brain demands more of it more and more often, just to kind of feel normal. That, my friend, is how addiction works. It hijacks your brain's natural appetites and slowly starts to take over your life, robbing you of the freedom to make your own choices. Not cool. So if porn is as addictive as other drugs, why aren't people talking about it? Unfortunately, history has shown that it can take years, even generations, before society understands the effects of addictive substances. As obvious as it sounds now that tobacco, alcohol, and drugs can cause serious harm, it took many years for people to believe that they were dangerous, sometimes even after studies had shown how much damage they could cause. For example, in the late 1800s, cocaine was considered an excellent cure for many health problems, including toothaches. Lloyd Manufacturing Company called their product cocaine toothache drops, which were available over the counter from 1885 to 1914. Have you ever had a toothache? Imagine hearing your doctor say, "Here's some cocaine, give it a try. It'll make you feel great. It'll make you forget you have teeth." Sounds crazy, right? So why do you think this product was taken off the shelves? Because now we know better. Science finally caught up with the truth. It happened again with alcohol. Many companies advertised that nursing mothers should drink alcohol so the benefits of the alcohol would pass on through their body to their nursing child. Makes no sense, right? As you can imagine, after seeing a bunch of drunken babies stumbling around mid-crawl, they stopped doing that too. Another example of how we've gotten it wrong in the past is with tobacco. Not that long ago, doctors actually prescribed smoking because it soothed the nerves and cleaned out the lungs. Well, it sure does something to the lungs, but it doesn't clean them out. Once again, we had to learn the lesson the hard way. In each case, cocaine, alcohol, and tobacco, science had to catch up with the truth. It was always true that those things were harmful, but it took a while for everyone to realize it. So let's fast forward to our day. Guess what? We are all learning a similar lesson with pornography. For many years, it was common to hear that pornography was a harmless pastime and there was no reason to be worried. Not anymore. And this isn't just about opinion. Not with what we have learned about the brain. Studies are showing that pornography can be just as addictive as other drugs and extremely harmful. Is this new to you? Have you ever compared pornography addiction to drug addiction? The reason this comparison makes sense is that scientists have learned that not all addictions come from chemicals you put into your body. Did you catch that? Not all addictions come from chemicals you put in your body. From gambling, shopping, and thrill-seeking to video games, internet use, and pornography, we now know that drugs aren't the only thing that can cause chemical overload in the brain. One of our fighters on the East Coast, who had dealt with several drug addictions as a teenager and later suffered a serious addiction to pornography, told us, "It wasn't until I paid attention to the symptoms of my pornography addiction that I realized that they were nearly identical to the symptoms I was having with drugs." Understanding what addiction does to the brain might help us see how it is influencing our actions and overall life. To be specific, viewing pornography releases a flood of chemicals our bodies usually reserve for positive activities. These chemicals are dopamine, oxytocin, norepinephrine, and serotonin into the reward pathway of the brain. The overexposure of these chemicals can influence things like self-control, aggression, ability to focus, and other physical appetites, along with general ability to feel pleasure and respond to pain. This may cause you to have a harder time controlling your anger or dealing with stress. Your eating habits may change. Your ability to enjoy regular things such as hanging out with friends, listening to music, spending time with family, or playing sports may diminish because you feel depressed or numb. However fun they used to be, these activities may no longer feel satisfying after coming to expect the rush of dopamine and norepinephrine that accompanies pornography use. And what happens to you when you want to have a real romantic relationship? We'll talk much more about this later, but we'll summarize it in one word: problems. Technology today has made it easier to drown our brain into those chemicals over and over again. That unnatural amount of chemicals, once again, is what causes the addiction. When it comes to the brain, then, addiction is addiction. It doesn't matter if it's cocaine or pornography, the effects on the brain are the same. After seeing pornography's negative effects in your own life, you've probably made an effort to quit or not to use anymore. But after trying to resist for a while, you go back. You try to stop again, then you go back again, over and over again. You're stuck. In a literal sense, you are no longer completely free. Your actions and choices are now mandated, controlled, and driven. Even if you want to leave the addiction, you may still feel helpless against its power over you. Do you know what the Latin root for the word addiction is? This is interesting, check it out. It's dicere. It means dictator. A dictator is a ruler with total power over a country. How would you like to live in a country controlled by a dictator, where your freedom was severely restricted? What would you feel in that situation? We'll tell you our answer. We wouldn't put up with it. We get angry. When our freedom to choose what we want most is restricted by anyone or anything, anger makes sense. So what do you say? Have you ever joined a rebellion? Are you with us? Maybe it's actually time to get a little ticked about being controlled and forced to keep doing something you really don't want to do deep down. You make the call. If you're in, we're ready. Well, hold on, you might be saying. If my brain is involved in this problem, is change even possible? After a long time, even years of struggling, we don't blame you for asking. If you're feeling especially discouraged about change, this video is for you. To help someone who is feeling down, we often say things like, stay hopeful, try to have a good attitude, don't give up. We agree with this advice and we like to hear it sometimes ourselves. Other times, though, it can be very hard to believe that anything is really going to change. So today, we have a concrete, rock-solid reason for you to stay hopeful. Are you ready? All right, here it is. Your brain and body are remarkably changeable. Did you know that? Almost no one did until the 1990s when some new scientific discoveries took place. Brain researchers used to believe that the brain was pretty much fixed and unchangeable. People knew that the brains of younger children changed and developed, of course, but the belief at the time was that once you were an adult, your brain became set in place with fixed neurochemical levels and stable brain pathways. Basically, this meant if you messed your brain up when you were young, the damage remained permanent for the rest of your life. Now, scientists, they don't believe this anymore. The biggest discovery in neuroscience in the last 2 decades is a juicy word: neuroplasticity. Neuro meaning brain, and plasticity meaning changeability. What this refers to is your brain's ability to change with each thing you do. Like a never-ending game of Tetris, the brain is constantly putting down new layers and pathways based on choices we make. Each time you learn something, try something different, or experience something new, a fresh connection is forged and formed in your brain, with constant rewiring happening every moment based on your actions. This happens, of course, with pornography use as well. Over a long time, pornography use can start to literally rewire your brain, making it more and more difficult for you to resist using. But the opposite is also true. As we begin to live differently, we forge new pathways in the brain. And as we leave old habits behind, the old pathways get grown over like a boring hiking trail no one uses anymore. Pretty good news, no? Just in case you missed it, here it is again. No matter how deep you are in this addiction, no matter how long you've been struggling, there's hope, as long as you don't give up the fight. Your brain can change and rewire itself back to its healthy state over time. So, what is it going to take for you or anyone who struggles with pornography addiction to become truly free? You may not be surprised to hear this from us, but you're going to have to fight. We're going to have to fight. Freedom in any form never comes easy, not without a price. But it's not like you haven't tried to get out of this before, right? Have you ever tried to just rally yourself to stop by saying, enough, no more, in an effort to make some kind of dramatic night and day shift? Most of us have. You know, like the Incredible Hulk, we sometimes think we can just clench our fists and gather all our willpower and suddenly change ourselves by sheer force. You know what we're talking about. You know, I've just got to try harder. If I put my mind to it, I can do anything. Just work harder, do more, resist, have more willpower. And we really think that's all it's going to take. Have you ever had a hard time getting to sleep? On those nights, have you ever tried harder to make yourself go to sleep? What happens? Most times that only makes it worse, right? Like quicksand, sometimes the harder we struggle against something, the deeper we're pulled into it. In a similar way, those who run directly at an addiction, trying to battle it back with sheer willpower and force their behavior to change, almost always become exhausted before long. For a day or two after a dramatic declaration of no more, we pat ourselves on the back for having iron willpower and being a completely new person. Then when that new person isn't looking, we're often right back where we started. We're not interested in prompting any more incredible Hulk moments for you. We've got something better in mind. Don't get us wrong, effort is super important and full recovery won't happen without investing everything you got. But what makes all the difference is how exactly the effort is spent. If we're serious about getting you to a new place, it's going to require a certain kind of effort and a different way of fighting. One that goes deeper than just the behavior alone. One that takes the full picture of your life seriously. And one that takes your mind and heart as much as your muscles. In the videos ahead, we'll be exploring all of this and much more. Everything we talk about here will prepare you to fight this problem in a new and more powerful way. A way that leads slowly but surely to real freedom one day. Learning how to fight smart won't be easy, and it'll take some time and patience on your part. But that's okay. Trust us, it'll be worth it. While working through the Fortify program, it's easy to think, hey, maybe I found the answer. I'll just finish the program and I'll be free of this. Let's talk about that for a minute. Will sitting and watching a bunch of videos suddenly flip a switch in your brain and free you? You probably know the answer to that. It won't. But if you're wondering whether the specific strategies and plans we'll be exploring together can help you get out of this, then the answer is yes, they definitely can. Thousands of people have traveled the same path and quit this stuff for good. And you're next. Like we talked about earlier, getting free from this trap will require something more than just a burst of superhuman effort. Instead of just fighting harder, it will take fighting smarter. Learning to maneuver and approach this problem in a new way, a way that gives you the upper hand. If you're interested in moving in this direction, then buckle up. Any serious battle starts with some serious training. Up ahead, we'll start to equip and prepare you as a fighter with everything you'll need. We'll give you some strategies that can help you in moments of possible weakness, and practices to strengthen your home base. After this basic training, we'll dig deeper and get at the roots of the addiction and help you fortify your life as a whole. We'll also talk about ways to keep things going when things get tough, and discuss strategies to ultimately regain your freedom in your life. Your own pathway to freedom will depend on the good things you've already got in your life. This will be unique for each of us, and can include family relationships, hobbies, values, passions, faith, whatever. As we explore the many contributors to addiction, we'll ultimately be helping you create your own personal plan to guide you out of it, a battle strategy for your own life. This long-term plan will be a crucial tool on the path to authentic, lasting freedom, the kind that won't wear off in a couple weeks like a cheap spray tan. As you already know, progress in this war won't happen overnight. Real change is usually deep and gradual rather than dramatic. Quiet rather than fancy. And based on long, sustained work rather than just an intense burst of energy. But again, our goal is not to get you excited for a couple of weeks to do better. That might give you a buzz for a while, but it wouldn't last. We're here to talk about the roots of this problem, what underlies it and sustains its power over time. As well as what it takes to foster a deep and stable change. Now, we didn't just come up with this in our garage with a few friends. We collaborated with a team of professionals in many different fields of expertise. What you will learn draws on literally hundreds of research studies, all focused on getting at the roots of this addiction. By taking a good, hard look into your life, the things you do or don't do on a daily basis, and by making some key adjustments, you will be able to fortify your life successfully and decrease your vulnerability to the problem itself. As this happens, you may be surprised to discover some real power and control over your own life returning once again. What about when the urges hit? With a little help from some new skills we'll be practicing, you can also learn to eventually move past any temptations that come your way. Doesn't that sound good? No matter how controlled you may feel right now, or how many battles you are losing, you determine who wins the larger war. In many cases, it's going to take a lot of time, practice, and help from others. But it all starts with your choice to move forward. It won't be easy. But as long as you don't give up, good things will happen. We promise. There are many differences between each of you. Some may have been addicted for a brief period of time, and others for much longer. Some are older, others are younger, some are guys, and others are girls. We've been aware of these differences while developing this program, and we've made sure the ideas we discuss are applicable to everyone. Reaching lasting recovery is our hope for you. Since everyone's situation is different, we're not even going to put a time limit on it. But faster or slower, sooner or later, we can assure you this: things get better. You can become stronger. And freedom, in the fullest sense, is within reach. You probably won't win every battle that lies ahead. But keep in mind, if you move this direction, the war is yours to win. And when it gets difficult, remember that you've got thousands of other fighters by your side, heading in the same direction. We're in this together, and we hope you will feel the strength of being part of a growing army fighting the same battle. Make no mistake, we're in this to win, and we won't be stopped.